Hi, I'm your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and this is the Limitless One podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. Ever since I can remember, from my first conscious thought as a young child, I had a feeling that I was here before, possibly many times over, as I had glimpses of my soul's journey, and I knew that this life was just a temporary experience. Growing up, being exposed to the Hindu religion, reincarnation was a big part of those teachings, along with karma, or effects of action, and dharma, righteous action. I've also been on a lifelong quest to understand and connect deeper to my own soul, but also ancient wisdom, the human origin story, and the realm beyond our five senses. I've been incredibly blessed to meet the most amazing teachers, healers, and genuine individuals who can see into those realms. Today, we dive deep into learning about the Akashic records and meeting a beautiful woman who can tap into the infinite knowledge of the universe and all of our lives. Meet Tiffany Malone, an Akashic record reader, light language healer, and intuitive channeler. Tiffany has dedicated her adult life to inner healing and helping others reawaken their soul's journey. After receiving her first Akashic reading, Tiffany began her journey of accessing the Akasha for others and is a bridge between the conscious mind and the guidance of the soul. She is dedicated to supporting you on your spiritual awakening and ascension journey by reconnecting you to your soul's wisdom, inner power, and purpose. Welcome to the Limitless One podcast, everyone. I am your host, Anand J. Sukadia. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome to the Limitless One podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. You know, I stand here in gratitude for you. And I just, first of all, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. This is your first podcast, and you're sharing your eternal truth of the Akashic records with the audience and I. And, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Agatha, and she told me that you're absolutely somebody I have to connect with. So I signed up to do a reading with you. And a couple of days later, you sent me this beautiful video and I watched it. It was about my Akashic records and some of the questions that were lingering in my mind and in my heart over the last couple of months. And I tell you, it touched my heart, and I was literally like weeping, not weeping, but like tears were strolling down my face. And it was because everything that you said hit so many different points in my body. And after finishing that and listening to it a couple of times, like I felt like there was some layers of rust that was coming off of me because for the last couple of months, I was having some uncertainty about, direction of my career and things like that. And it really put a lot of things into perspective. So first of all, I want to appreciate and acknowledge you for that. And I'm sure a lot of the audience is going to want to get a reading after this conversation because you're just so magical at what you do.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Reading the Akashic records for people, as I say every time I do this for people, it's just such an honor to be able to do that because it really is a soul to soul connection. Mm-hmm. And I get to connect with people on a different level. I get to connect with the higher self, and I get to bring through messages that they are ready to receive and really to help with everybody's journey moving forward and with ascension and their specific journey.
So beautiful. So tell me, what does living a limitless life mean to you?
I love this question. I love it because it really, for me, living a limitless life is all about tapping into my multidimensionality. And when I say that, I mean not just being me as Tiffany, me in this 3D state. It's me as all aspects of me, all lives that are past, present, and future. And that's limitless.
That's so beautiful. And, when you just said that, it makes me think, a lot of times it's very easy to get caught up in the fact that, okay, I do this for work. This is what I look like. And this is my linear box. This is my family. This is my routine. I get up, go to work, maybe do some other stuff, work out, and then come back and then repeat, rinse and repeat, right? But, when you talk about we come as a soul with so much, I guess, karmic baggage or karmic layers of things that we're bringing into it. So when we acknowledge that, we have to realize that we're limitless. And you talk about ascension, and if we're ascending to this highest place to become one with God, or however you want to describe it, we are all an aspect of that. So we start there, then we separate from that, we live these incarnations and these lives, these simultaneous experiences, and then we go back to that once we have all the experience that we need to for our soul's journey. So when we zoom out a little bit, it really becomes a very vast feeling of, okay, yeah, we are all limitless.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you really tap into that, and the Akashic records bring this forward to a lot of people. It did for myself when I had my first reading. It brought back memories. It just made me realize on a deeper level. I already knew it, but it made me realize on a deeper level, really on a cellular level, that I am not just me, and there is so much more to me.
Mhm.
And that's really what I want to bring to everybody when I do a reading for them.
Yeah, for sure. And when I listened to that, it almost felt like when you were speaking and talking to me about all the levels of my incarnations and my higher selves and everything. It was almost like I was getting a healing or an attunement, because after that, I felt so much lighter, just by hearing that stuff. I'm sure consciously, subconsciously, spiritually, I knew this, but consciously, there was some kind of wall or maybe curtain that was in the way that I couldn't really see it prior to working with you.
Yeah, and when these memories start coming through, for example, after a reading, and you might hear about a past life that comes through, it might trigger something within you. And sometimes, it comes straight away, and sometimes it can be over time. And it is kind of like, you do receive a healing, because you're healing your whole self. You're connecting to your whole self. So these memories, they bring up just the entirety of your soul. And again, not just you as Anand in this lifetime right now. So, and also in the readings, there literally are healings that come through, angelic healings. I have angelic energy that comes through. Also DNA healing, ancestral healing is big and powerful in the readings also.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became an Akashic record, I guess, holder of this knowledge or reader of this knowledge? I don't know. What is the proper term?
Yeah, I don't even know if there is a proper term.
It all
It's,
exists, right? Every
yeah,
possible term.
yeah, exactly. It's called an Akashic record reader, but that is just a term, and it means so much for different people. So, but honestly, my background, I guess I first started tapping into, I've always been an empath, as most of us. My intuition has always been very, very strong. And when I was growing up, I was very interested in animal welfare, always surrounded by pets and animals. And I started becoming interested in animal communication. So I kind of studied it and read about it and started communicating with my pets. And when I realized I could do that, that really opened up something within me. This is when I was, in my teens and 20s and on up. But I started my own business. It was pet related, and kind of became, the entrepreneur with my business and got busy with that. And then I guess it was about 5 years ago, I started Akashic records, Akashic readings started just coming into my field. I just started hearing it everywhere and seeing it everywhere. And just like everybody else, I was like, what is this? And I started becoming interested in it. So I got my first reading. And after that, as I said, it just sparked something in me. And I thought to myself, I just want to learn how to do this. I don't want to go to other people and hear it from them. I want to do this myself. So that's where I started that journey.
Wow. And was there any training that you did, or was it mostly introspective, meditating, and asking for the calling to do this?
No, it was, I mean, I did training. I guess probably because I at the time thought, well, you need to do training. I mean, how can you just like all of a sudden become an Akashic record reader? You know, like anybody would think, you know, what do you do? So I started doing research. I started reading books, you know, that kind of training. And as it evolved, I just kind of got my own way of doing the readings. And I was practicing on friends and I read for myself. And it really just took gaining confidence and gaining experience. And once you gain that confidence, then it just all opens for you.
So beautiful. And you talk about you got the calling. Now, as the Akashic is basically can you tell us what it is exactly? Everyone thinks it's like, okay, this record book or this library of knowledge, but is there anything more specific you can share with us about it?
Yeah, you know, that's where I think it's kind of deceiving because if people look it up, if they Google it, you know, there's all these interpretations of, you know, this big library in another dimension that you go to. And, you know, it's this book that's the book of life, the somebody's life. And I get where that comes from. But in my experience, from working within people's records, it's really just, it's a frequency. It's a frequency that's all around. And when you connect with that frequency, you connect to the vibration of a person's soul and their records and their memories and the soul's journey. So it's like anything, it's like tapping into anything. And it really is, you don't have to go anywhere to do it. You don't have to go to another dimension. You don't have to do that. It's just tapping into that frequency and acknowledging that that's what you're doing. And I do create a safe space when I do this, which is very important because when you create that safe space, you know that the information you're receiving is accurate and is true. And that's so important.
Absolutely. And have you ever experienced have any of these when you say all the records open up, are any records like blocked where they're locked up and they're not supposed to be accessed for any particular individuals until a certain time or anything like that?
You know, I have heard that from another reader. She had various experiences with that, and she had, you know, various reasons that she felt the records were locked. And I'm sure that some can be. Personally, I've never encountered that. Everybody that I've read for, it's been I haven't encountered that at all. So that's been wonderful. I'm not saying that might not happen at some point, but that's not in my experience so far.
Got it. Yeah, the reason I ask is because back in 2009, I went to this place. It's called the Nadi Astrology Center in India. I don't know if you've ever heard of Nadi Astrology, but essentially
No.
you put your right thumbprint if you're a male and give them to this library. Basically these holders of these ancient scrolls, and if you're a woman, it's the left thumb impression. And essentially, they go and they find your particular leaf that's designed for your particular life, and it was written 2,000 years ago by this sage Agastya. And it reminds me of the Akashic records where they went into all my previous lives. They went into my current life. They knew that everything that was going on in my life, that I was going in for shoulder surgery. They basically had my mom's name written down. They had my dad's name written down. They knew both my sisters were married, and one of them got married the day before. They knew I was coming in my 29th year. So basically they went through all my past, then they talked to me about the present moment, what was happening. And then they told me, okay, this is the amount of knowledge that you need to know now. And then you're going to come back at a certain age and learn the rest. So that's why, yeah, I was just curious about that.
Well, you know, yes, definitely. I do believe that you are open to more knowledge and more information at certain times, but I think that depends on where you are in your healing journey. So, for example, you know, the more you heal yourself, the more you release blocks, the more you know, do the shadow work, do all that work on yourself, then you free up the space for more to come to you. And I do believe that that's probably part of what they were talking about. You know, you go through these certain stages in your life and you've probably done a lot more healing than you did at that point.
Hmm.
So yeah, I agree with that.
Very interesting. And one of the other things you told me during the reading is that our lives, our past lives, future lives, they're all happening simultaneously. So essentially, it's like telling me there's no such thing as time and it's all one moment. Can you elaborate into that a little bit and kind of explain what that's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been huge for me. And I would love for more people to understand this concept
Mhm.
that, you know, we were raised in this 3D reality where there is past, present, future, and time is linear. But in my experience in the records and in other experiences, it's become so clear that time is actually simultaneous. So, you know, basically, past lives are actually simultaneous to your life right now.
Mhm.
Future lives are simultaneous. So, if you imagine like a timeline, instead of past, present, future, it's simultaneous and everything runs simultaneously. So, this is kind of the idea of timelines where you can tap into different timelines. And even myself in you know, when I describe my work and even in readings, I will still call it a past life because that's kind of how we're programmed to think. So it's easier to call it that. But in reality, you are living that life simultaneously at this time. And that kind of taps into that multidimensionality also, you know, that all of this is happening at the same time. And in fact, I have had quite a few readings, many readings where this past life self of a client will actually meet the present self. And there will be an exchange, a download, a healing. And it's as if that past life self is waiting for this moment in time for that to happen. And I see it as it's all happening right now in that moment. So that's back to everything is in the now moment.
Wow. And for you to be able to witness that, because the person you're doing the reading for is not seeing that. Like, how does that make you feel when you're seeing this reunion between these two, the same soul, but two different parts of that soul? Like, what is it like? How do you react to something like that?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm so blessed and so grateful to be doing what I do and to be able to witness that and then to be able to describe it to somebody. And you know, that's why in my readings, I you know, I come across with a level of I explain a lot because I describe a lot
Hmm.
because I want to really let everybody know how powerful that is, this connection that happens. And you know, it's unbelievable to be able to witness that and to help people because even though they might not at that moment experience it as it was shown to me, it unlocks something within them. And it's almost like a time release.
Hmm.
And then I know that over time, that releases, it's almost like opening up these memories and then they move on to something else. So yeah, it's amazing.
Very cool. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your process for doing a reading on somebody? I know that you work with a lot of people you've never met before, so you have no prior knowledge. And there's a few things that you do ask beforehand regarding, I guess, date of birth, time of birth. Is it time of birth as well? And place of birth. And then you ask, if there's any particular questions that is coming up for the person. But then once you get that info, like how do you start preparing for that?
Yeah, so basically with the readings, the way I do it right now is I get specific information. So I do need the full name and the date of birth. The date of birth, I don't actually need to go into the records. I don't have to know how old somebody is to go into their records. That is just a form of permission
Okay.
because you have to have permission to go into somebody's records. You cannot just go into anybody's records and get information. If you try to do that, the information won't be accurate and it could be false. And that would be the worst thing I could imagine ever happening. So that's really just to get that verbal or that written permission to go into somebody's records. And then, if people have questions, normally they can send a few questions for anything that's happening within their life at this time that they need some guidance on, or you don't even have to have any questions. Honestly, it's all, the reading is completely guided by the person's higher self and their guides, and any information that needs to come through at that time in their life, which is for their highest good, is what comes through. So what I do is they send me the questions, or I just go in and do the reading. I basically just, it's not even really a meditative state. I open up the records in a safe space and the information comes to me and I write it all down. So there is some channeled writing within this. I do channel words and sentences and paragraphs. It really varies what comes through. It's higher self. It is past lives. There's ancestral messages. There's angelic. There's star families that come through for a lot of star seeds. And I mean, it's kind of, I've had so many different types of energies that have come through. And once I do the reading, I actually record it. So I record a video. It's normally about 45 minutes. And then I send it to the person so that they can view it and watch it and then listen to it again. And the reason I do this instead of doing it live is because when the information comes through, for example, like you said, with these past lives and now moments meeting, it's a way for me to relay the message without interruption. It's important for me to relay it as it was given through me to the person. And when you're in a conversation, questions come up. And it was kind of shown to me that this is the way this needs to come to the person, is as it came through me. So I find that's the best way for it. And then, of course, there's a follow-up call or a Zoom where we can just go over and clarify and any questions that anyone might have.
Yeah, I absolutely love that process. It's such a pure, and you're getting the conscious reading from your higher self, and like we carry an energy. So if you're reading for somebody and you see their face, or you're thinking, like, it might get into your head, like, oh, what are they thinking? Are they not comfortable with this? So it's like, yeah, read it directly from source, and then let the person read it and digest it, or sorry, listen to it and digest it, and then. I felt so good about the reading and all the messages that came through, and it sparked a lot of thoughts for myself to continue on and journal and ask myself, why was I thinking these things prior, or why was I feeling these blockages or whatever? And based on the stuff that you told me, it all like kind of tied together so well. And then to have the reinforcement, to actually have the conversation with you afterwards, I think it was like 2 days later or something like that. And everything kind of like the puzzle pieces all fit together. And then it's up to the person, the individual like myself, to start making those actions, whether I want to make those changes or not, or continue along the same path. But the awareness is the biggest thing, right? So once we have awareness, then we can start making choices. If we don't have the awareness, then we're going to continue going along the same way that we have been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about it too, because it's recorded, is you can refer to it. And, a lot of people will, of course, watch the recording, and it's a lot of information to digest in the first recording. And I'll never forget when clients started reaching out to me after viewing it, saying that they then, watched it again and listened to it again without the distraction of viewing it. And they really felt it on like a deeper level and deeper layers, and more started coming through. And then when you view it again, 3 months later or 6 months later, it can even go through on a deeper level, or you can see what you have done to follow through from the reading and what you haven't. So, that's really beneficial also.
Absolutely. And, like everybody has different challenges and things that they go through. And I'm sure there's so many messages that come through have you ever gone to a situation where the guides are giving you so much downloaded information that there's no possible way you could explain it all in 40 minutes? Like, I can't even imagine. I'm sure there's so much more that my guides have to tell me, but like, like, what is it? Is like a faucet, you have this cup and then you just pour enough to fill that cup and then you share that? Or is it just coming down like gallons at a time and you only have this little cup to fill with?
Yeah, it varies. There are many readings when information just keeps coming. And I spend, an hour to an hour and a half in the records when I am in there and I write the information down. I could spend 3 or 4 hours. I mean, I could spend it, there's so much that can come through. There is the intention that whatever is for the person's highest good at this time. So it does stay within that framework. But I have had, some people ask some questions, and normally when I first go into the records, I find that I ask for a past life that is relevant to the life at this time for that person, because so much information will come through and tie into what is relevant in their lifetime right now that they need to know and to understand. And sometimes that can just open up a whole, I mean, there's just so much information that I also want to get to the questions that the person asked. And so I have to, kind of back off sometimes. The energy's coming in, and then I have to kind of refocus to the person's question that they want to ask, because that's important to them at this time. But I've also had, downloads come in where it really is a download and it's so much information that it can't be relayed all in one session. So I have people that come back for multiple sessions also, because I think some people realize there's more that needs to come through, but it's just in their own time when they're ready.
Yeah, there's so much. And in my reading, you talked about one particular guide that you connected with. In other readings that you've done, do you multiple guides come through to you to share the info? Are they trying to talk over each other, or is it pretty organized from their end in terms of the messages? It's all congruent to come together to you.
It varies. I've had readings where there are multiple guides, and then I've had readings where it's just one, or it's just the higher self.
Mm.
And I have no control over that. And I don't want to. I don't try to control it, because I really am I just relay the messages. I'm just the channel for that. So it's all directed by what is coming through for your highest good. And it could be that in another reading, obviously something else will come through, but it really varies from one reading to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you've done a lot of readings at this point. Based on the people that you have read for, obviously everybody's soul journey is different, but do you see any common elements between the people that have been attracted to you in your life for the readings? Like, do you see any like things that are pretty often, like the problem is pretty common, or the challenge that we all have to go through?
Well, there's a lot of life lessons that people go through that are, similar in certain readings. I had, sometimes I have readings that seem to be kind of grouped together. I had quite a few readings where it was a lot of people who were just awakening, and, this Akashic reading was so very new to them. And the messages that came through were kind of relayed in a way that I could tell it was opening them up. I could tell it's almost like a key, and they're just kind of awakening and they're opening up to all of this. And it was like a key that sometimes I literally see it as a key that just unlocks something. And I can tell that the whole, their whole world is about to open up and become vast, which is so beautiful, because I actually really love when I get the clients who this is an awakening experience for them. It just warms my heart to kind of unlock that.
Yeah, it's like a second birth for them,
Yeah,
the next
yeah,
stage of their life.
yeah, exactly. And then I get quite a few people who are very very far along in their ascension journey, and it's just another step for them. It's another healing, you know. I'll get I do get, I find that a lot of star seeds come to me also, who when their star family comes through, which is why I've been guided recently to do more light language and light codes. And I've just started a new reading, which is a live Zoom reading, which is called Akashic Light Codes. And that really is channeling higher self and whatever star beings for that person come through. And that is light codes, you know, within the body, activations and downloads. And that's also really beautiful to witness.
Yeah, beautiful. And the reason I ask is like, you know, our vibrations, you know, it's a magnet that it attracts, right? So I'm meeting people of very much similar energy to myself. And, you know, we both do a lot of Joe Dispenza work, and we do the conferences and the meditations and everything. And just the family that gets created over there is like, you can have a conversation for 5 minutes with somebody, and then all of a sudden you're like best buddies with them. So I've been noticing that so much more that I'm opening up to it. It's like I'm flooded every day with these amazing people coming into my life. And even at my center, I'm having people come in, and one little conversation sparks something that just blows their mind, or my mind is blown. And then like we move on from there, whether it's a 5-minute conversation or the conversation continues. But it's like we're all like activating each other. And that's what it feels like, because the world is very interesting, a very amazing time right now. It's also, there's so many things going on, you know, light, dark, all that stuff. So I'm just, yeah, I'm curious as to if you're noticing the same trend as like all these, you know, these soul families are kind of, you know, coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head about we're activating each other. I had a conversation with a friend about that recently. And really, these soul families and soul tribes, we are all meeting each other once again. We've all had previous connections. And that's why when we have a conversation, we automatically feel the love and the connection, is because we have been connected before. And you know, I truly believe, like you said, whether it's a 5-minute conversation or whether we become friends and remain and see each other and speak all the time, there is an activation that is happening between us. And I think some of that is predestined. And then I think some of that is the natural flow also.
Beautiful. And just speaking about this current timeline, based on the readings and your knowledge or just observation in general, your intuition, what, like, do you have any insight into what's happening on planet Earth right now in all the changes that we're going through? It seems like there's so much chaos, but there's also so much awakening happening at the same time.
Yeah, you know, it's really all perspective.
Mm.
You know, I have channeled Gaia, and you know, Gaia has a consciousness just like we do. We are so interconnected and interwoven with her. And as she ascends, because this is her consciousness ascending, this, you know, she chose to go through this also, just as we chose to be here as humans and experience this ascension as humans. So we are going through this together. And although it seems like we're not supporting each other, sometimes when you watch the news, or you know, if you watch the news, or if you hear certain things, we truly are supporting each other. And you know, Gaia, when she's also going through shadow work, she's also purging. So all these natural disasters is her form of healing and releasing. And it's a natural process, and it's not something to be fearful of, although of course it's devastating when we see and hear, but this is a natural process, part of her ascension. You know, as far as what is going on, again, it's back to perspective. I really see it as, I can feel the energy that this has already happened. Mm-hmm. It's just playing out. So what you're seeing and hearing that you might find negative is the old energy playing out, and the new energy is already here. This, new earth energy, it's already present. It's just your perspective and feeling into that. And as more people awaken, that energy is going to grow, and more people are going to start feeling into that.
Yeah. They say it's always darkest before the dawn, right?
Yeah.
It feels pretty dark right now sometimes, it's I don't know, maybe it's just my perspective, but it seems like there's a lot of uh so there's certain group of people that don't want the ascension of humanity to raise up and to step into their own power, into their own light. But at the same time, I sometimes think that maybe they're just playing a role in this experience, and they signed up to be the bad guys. But in really, if everything is pure love and God, like, we have to see both sides of the spectrum. So maybe they're serving humanity in the best way that they can. I don't know. It's maybe it was a thought I had during a meditative experience I had.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, there is no light without the dark. I mean, you have to have both. And we have all, some people might not want to hear this or tap into it, but we have all been everything and done everything. My soul has experienced things that I would probably be horrified that I have done. But we are here to experience. Our soul is here to grow in whatever lifetime. So I have experienced the dark. I'm sure I have done many dark things in past lives. And that's all about experiencing. We play these roles, and we bring something out in somebody else, and we serve a purpose. So, accepting that and moving forward with that is really important, because at the end of the day, as you know, we are all one. We're all returning to unity. So.
Absolutely. So, talking a little bit about, like, the past things that we might have done in previous lives, karma, and all this kind of stuff. Like, what do you see as, like, karma, destiny versus free will? Like, how can we go about changing it? And if we've done some really, really horrible things in the past, and we're in this position now where we have to move through it, it might be challenging for some people. Like, what encouragement can you give them if they're going through, like, a dark night of the soul at this moment?
In my experience, karma is actually lessons.
Mhm.
So we have free will. When we pass, and a lot of people think that if you have this karma, you're going to, keep coming into another lifetime, and you have to get out of this, like, karmic wheel and this karmic pattern. That's not what I've experienced. We have the free will to choose to return and to come back to learn more lessons. And when we do come back, it's our free will and our choice, our soul, to come back and to learn more lessons, or to learn the lessons we didn't learn in this past life, because it's all about experiencing. So I haven't seen it as this karmic pattern or wheel that you can't get out of, because we have free will. We have that power.
Mhm.
As far as learning the lessons and getting through the dark night of the soul, most of my most difficult lessons have been learned when I'm going through that. When you go through it and you look back on it, I've been so grateful for everything that I've been through that I thought was breaking me at the time.
Mhm.
And I can't imagine my life if it was just all love and light, because, again, there's no dark without the light, and the other way around. So you do go through it and you experience it, and it's all about experiencing and healing and becoming that stronger person. And when you go through this dark night of the soul, you're learning so much, and you are deepening your awareness of yourself and learning your strength, because when you come through, you are more powerful and you are more empowered to move forward.
Yeah, beautiful. And I've known, every dark night I've gone through, losing my dad or having multiple businesses fail, and that forced me to go inwards, to tap into my true power, and to take one step at a time and climb myself out of these holes of these dark places in the mind. Because yeah, like, they've served me more than any of the best days could have in my life. So I just realized that, yeah, anytime there's a challenge, I can't dwell on it too much. I just have to continue to move forward in this life, because at the end of the day, we're still here. All the challenges we've gone through, we're still standing, and we're still standing with a smile on our face. So if none of that stuff could, hurt us in a way that it would stop us from keeping moving forward, then what other experience can we have that would, right? So it's we have to appreciate and celebrate our own strength and our ability to climb out of these situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it such a gift to be awakened and to understand what you're going through and to know that it's a dark night of the soul and to know that you're going deeper within yourself
Mhm.
and you're moving forward as a soul, and that there are so many other people who have awakened and people that are in your community and your circle that can help you on that level. Because think back to when you didn't realize what you were going through. You didn't know what dark night of the soul really was, and it was just heaviness. And it really is a gift for all of us to be aware of that and to know what we're moving through. That's very powerful.
Yeah, and to even raise the ante, just to have the gratitude for that, right? Is to appreciate that moment as much as you can, because when you have gratitude for the worst, you absolutely have gratitude for everything that's good and positive and beautiful in life.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
Yeah. So you mentioned star seeds earlier. What role do they play right now? And any insights into where star seeds came from and what they need to do? How can they serve the best in this timeline?
Yeah. So in my experience, star seeds are in human form, but from from different star systems, and chose to be here in human form at this time for the ascension of Gaia and humanity at this time. And of course, all star seeds play a huge role. I do believe that all star seeds are souls who really were willing to take on this challenge, who are old souls and who have a lot of strength to be able to go through this human existence and to come back again in this human existence. So, but in a general term, star seeds are here to help raise the vibration of humanity and consciousness and the planet. As a general, that's what star seeds do. I do believe that each star seed individually has a deeper purpose, and that can vary from what you do. For example, you doing this podcast and reaching out to the people that you reach out to. That is a beautiful thing, and people are learning and moving forward with this information and digesting it. So, we all have these smaller roles that we play, but, we really, when you meet another starseed, like when you connect, like we were talking about with your soul family, you can feel it, you can feel the energy. And as more people awaken and as we remember and connect with each other, you can feel the light and you can feel the energy. And, that's our purpose. And that's what we're here for, to connect with one another.
Yeah, and every time it reminds me is that there's so many people out there that are living in this moment in this role of the star seeds. And the more I meet, I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. Don't ever feel like you're alone doing this, because yeah, sometimes it can get challenging in everyday life. And obviously, I always try to live a righteous life where I'm living the path, walking towards light, loving everybody I interact with and trying to not let my ego, step in the way of that, even if somebody disrespects me or, inflicts harm on me. But yeah, it's definitely challenging. But like, what is the point where, obviously we would love everybody to wake up and ascend, but when people are not ascending, like, do we just continue to do what we're doing? Because you can't force anybody. Everyone has free will, obviously, and you don't want to inflict or step into their free will. But I guess it's just living our purpose, right? Living our purpose, inspiring other people around us and whoever we can inspire. That's great. For those that don't, then my guess is at some point, maybe not in this life, maybe in another life, at some point they could ascend or they will ascend. And that's what the prayer I have for everybody is. But feels like it's necessary in this timeline, in this planetary experience that we're going through, is that we need more people waking up to what's going on, and into how we can be together and unity, and all, march as one.
Yeah, and people do have free will. So just as you said, it's you can't force somebody to wake up. It's going to happen when they're ready, when the higher self is ready. And honestly, we just need to live our lives like you said, working on our triggers when somebody is not very friendly, or acting in a manner that can be upsetting. I'm always working on myself, on my reaction, because that they are seeing that, even though they might not acknowledge it, they are seeing that, and they are to a certain level, they're understanding that. So when we live in our truth, and when we live in our light, and I'm not talking about just, walking around high vibe all the time. We're human, and we have, we have things happen to us, but always coming back to the fact that be aware of the triggers, be aware of how you're reacting, and be in that moment of it and process it. And that's healing. And when you heal, other people are healing also. So that's how I view it. And people are going to awaken when it's their time.
Absolutely. We can't expect anybody to change, right? It has to start from within, be the change that you want to see in the world. And, you can't expect anybody to be different, because their purpose and their life's journey is different, and they come from different places. We come from different places, but I always got to look inward. The triggers only happen inside of us, not outside of us. And it's so important to just be introspective about that. And, I continually to look for those moments in my life where I'm stepping outside of that to kind of realign myself. But yeah, thank you for that message. Why do you think you came here to Earth, Tiffany Malone? And what did you want your soul to experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I ask myself that a lot. um, I think coming to Earth and living as a human is one of the hardest things that we as souls can choose to do, and as star seeds. I know the people that really feel connected to themselves as an interdimensional being, or having these lives off planet Earth. We wonder all the time why we chose to come here, because it just seems so unnatural for the world to be this way, when you see the darkness and to feel the energy and the heaviness. But that's exactly why we did choose to come, because this is one of the hardest things that we can do. And living as a human and being here previously and at this time of ascension is what we chose to do for our soul's journey and to help humanity. So I truly believe, that's why I chose to be here, because I knew it would be tough. And I was giving myself that challenge, and to come back, again, and to, especially at this time, I really feel like this is a pivotal time for my particular journey, to be here right now, when all of this ascension is really, it's like I see it just like a plant growing from the earth, and it's just sprouting, and it's just so beautiful. There's so much more to come. And I keep thinking, well, the next lifetime, or my children or grandchildren, imagine what it's going to be like then. Yeah. But we're the boots on the ground right now, and we're here at such an important time. And that just in itself is, I'm just grateful that I chose this.
Yeah, we signed up for the main event.
Yeah.
definitely didn't come for the the pre-fights or whatever. But after seeing all the things you have seen in the Akasha, what do you think God is, or what is spirituality to you, and what role does it play in your life?
Spirituality is everything to me. I mean, it's the model of my life right now. It's how I live my life. It's when I interact with other people, I'm always, attempting to be aware of how I am speaking to other people, how I am treating other people. Of course, we have our moments and we are human, but to bring spirituality in, and honestly to realize that we are one. I mean, kind of back to when we meet somebody who is kind of an energy we don't want to be around, and they can come across as very aggressive, or I really see them as an aspect of myself. I mean, we are all one, and when I do that, I can't feel any kind of dislike or hatred for them, because they are an aspect of me. And I just try to bring spirituality into every aspect of my life. I have 2 teenagers, and I've been so fortunate to be able to homeschool them for many, many years, and to be able to bring that into their lives and have, the spirituality become a part of their lives. Also, it's everything to me, the way I live my life, and really trying to focus on the now moment. Also, that's been very important to me, bringing that aspect into my life.
That's so beautiful. Tiffany, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You are an absolute, your aura is glowing from here to the moon. And no, I just felt that the first time I saw you on video talking to you, but this is the first time we're actually seeing each other face to face over Zoom.
Yeah.
Thanks 2022 or whatever we're in, right? But honestly, like speaking to you and finding out that you found your path and that you're living your purpose, I just think like if anyone listening to this podcast hasn't stepped into their calling in life, how tragic would that be? Because right now is the time for us to become, ascend from humans to, to spiritual beings. And ever since I could remember, since my first conscious thoughts when I was like 3 years old, I always knew that this is just I'm in a bodysuit and I'm here for a short amount of time. It's just an experience. And, growing up in the Hindu tradition, learned about reincarnation. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then all the different, mystical, magical things that attracted to my life, and meeting healers and amazing readers like yourself. Like I feel so gifted that I'm able to have this platform to share it with people who may not have had that kind of exposure. So I just want to thank you so much. You're really, truly an incredible soul. And I really have so much love in my heart for you.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And I'm so grateful to have been able to meet you and to connect. It's the Dr. Joe community that got us connected. And, we're all meeting each other, and we're all connecting with each other. So yeah, I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much. So if anybody wants to, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot, wants to connect with you and get a reading and learn about their Akashic records, how can they learn about you?
Yeah, I do have an Instagram account. It's at Tiffany Alice Malone. And you can also email me. It's tiffanyalicemalone@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm sure everybody's going to love this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you too, Anand. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.